Have you heard of social egg freezing? Or maybe in different terms like elective egg freezing? Well, if these terms are not familiar to you, maybe this is something you want to learn about it, or if you have heard about it, so maybe there is something in here that expands your learning, expands your knowledge, so that I can equip you with the newest research in this field. So get curious and get a glass of water and relax and sit back. Hello and a warm welcome to my podcast show, Your Fertility Counselor. I'm your host, Tanya Fessler, and together we will dive into all things fertility, offering support, expert insights, and practical evidence-based advice for anyone navigating their fertility journey. So grab a cup of tea and make yourself comfortable. Let's get started. So a while ago, at one of the conferences that I like to attend around the world, medical stuff, one of the conferences where we were talking about social egg freezing or elective egg freezing. So let me get the basics right before we dive a little bit more into the inside of some studies here. Elective egg freezing is a process where a woman goes through a hormone stimulation of about 10 to 12 days. And after 10 to 12 days, her eggs get retrieved and frozen. So nothing else happens after that because the eggs all go into storage and they will be in the freezer until this woman decides that one day she may or may not want to make use of these eggs. So interesting, as this is now expanding more and more into all other countries around the world as well. The US and the UK started off with this very long time ago. And if you look at the data that is available, we can see that from 2014 to 2015, it really started to increase on the pickup, that women started to look into social egg freezing more and more. So between 2010 and 2016 in the US, for example, the cycles went up by 880%, whereas in the UK, storage of frozen eggs went up by 240% between 2013 and 2018. So what's the first reason anyway for women actually to look into freezing eggs? Why do they want to consider to even freeze their eggs? So in a study shown again that was conducted a couple of years ago by Professor Michelle Peet from the University of Melbourne, the data indicates that many of these women were actually single at the time. And they also looked at it as a kind of like insurance against not finding a partner in time. So when we look at the success rates of elective egg freezing, and that was really a very interesting study result from Professor Peet, was that the question was, what do women know about elective egg freezing? And so the number one was a woman's ability to become pregnant declines with age, especially after the age of 35. So that was like the common knowledge. What was really striking about this questionnaire was that there were still 35% that said on average one cycle of egg freezing will produce enough eggs for a great chance of about 80% of having a baby from the eggs. And another 28% said egg quality can be measured easily before a woman chooses to freeze her eggs. So these were like common beliefs that these women were bringing into the questionnaire. The longer your eggs are frozen in storage, the lower their quality will become, was another false assumption. And the third, which was responded with 8%, it is generally recommended that 10 frozen eggs are needed to give a woman a great chance again, about 80% of having a baby for in the future. So all these four that I actually mentioned now were all false. And so many women actually believed that that was the truth, which then shows us that our work in sharing knowledge and sharing data and sharing what's really true continues, because it's so, so important that women get empowered with the right knowledge, the right advice, and the right information. Which leads me to the next point, because where is this information available about elective egg freezing? What information resources are available to you? So if you are one of those women that are interested in elective freezing, think about like, how would you want to look for a process, information, advice, and where would you go? So most of us would go to the media and other online resources like blogs or social media posts. Maybe we would do like a selective choice. It could be then subjective or inaccurate as well. Then there is these fertility clinic websites, of course. Many of these websites have indeed done a tremendous work over the past couple of years now. Because initially, when we were looking at that, there was indeed poor quality. It was difficult to read. It was difficult to get the transparency on costs, on storage, on success rates. And also we felt that the balance wasn't quite kept between those that are interested in doing elective egg freezing and indeed the results that would come from such procedures. And many actually would still go to the primary care provider or to the specialist to get like more information. But sometimes time can be constrained and costs are actually involved as well to attend these appointments. So it could be that some women may feel inadequately informed. So the research then showed, when we looked into it, that most women would still go to the fertility clinic websites and try to get as much information as they can. And they would actually reach out to the primary care physician to also get information, as well as from the fertility specialist. But with the hype that we have seen in the past couple of years, I would believe that there is more and more information given and distributed also on more blogs and websites and social media, which is great. But my advice in this would always be like, take it with a pinch of salt, like really look into it, because at the back of your mind, always keep there that women do have different bodies. My body is different from yours, and yours is different from your sister's or your best friend. And so everybody actually has their own different body clock, how the body responds, how the body reacts to certain medications. And we should actually really, really treasure that and protect that and keep that in mind when we take all this information in from social media. So we often also talk about the decisional conflict in elective egg freezing. And I had lots and lots of discussions with my colleagues on this, because it's so, so interesting. When Singapore launched elective egg freezing in July 2024, we started to do counseling. We started to support women with elective egg freezing programs, with counseling sessions. And until today, we have seen more than 500 of these women going through counseling. And it's so interesting to see what the reasons are to do elective egg freezing. So as it states also in the statistics that I just shared with you, for many of them, they have been actually in relationships for a period of maybe 5 years or 10 years. And then ultimately they decided that the relationship was not going anywhere. And then they found themselves being single again. And here they were, and they were maybe 37, 38, and then they really wanted to do elective egg freezing. So luckily, the Ministry of Health in Singapore raised the age limit then ultimately from 35 years to 37 years, which has helped a lot of women to still look into elective egg freezing as an option. So why do I mention the decisional conflict? I think where the decisional conflict comes from is that there is an option that is available now in Singapore, but then because people don't know exactly what to expect, and we see that sometimes the information that is truly available about this whole procedure and what to expect and how someone could potentially feel about it to go through can sometimes really be difficult to make such a decision. And it's also still a lot of money, especially if a woman is 19 years old or 25 years old. So we can see that the time to decision can sometimes lag a little bit. So for these women that we have seen in counseling, the majority already made up their mind because they were very well informed. They also had a little bit of a pressure of time because of age. And so that's why they decided maybe much sooner to go into the procedure. But we can also see women that come to see us for the session, and then we would discuss all these typical things that someone goes through when they are doing elective egg freezing, and also really the reasons behind it to see like, is this something you want to do? Is this going to help you? And if yes, how? And then we can see that some of these women actually delay their decision. So this is called the decisional conflict because from the time they actually made the appointment with the clinic until they ultimately decide whether elective egg freezing is something for them or not, we can see that 12 up to 24 months can actually pass from that period of time. Another thing that I think is often overviewed and should be really, really thought about it as well is really about like, what do you want to do with your eggs? Because a study has shown again that the egg usage rates versus years since freezing can be incredible fluctuating. We have seen that there are not only thousands, but we are talking about like thousands and thousands of surplus eggs being stored. And just alone in Victoria, Australia, in 2020, there were close to 15,000 frozen eggs stored in laboratories, in IVF clinics. And these were surplus eggs not being used, because what can easily happen is that even if you froze your eggs and you stored them at the age of 24 or maybe 35, and then you met your future husband, got married or got together, and then many of them actually get pregnant. So yes, I get the point that you can actually look into egg freezing of being an amazing, a fantastic option to get a peace of mind that you know you have young eggs or younger eggs of yourself stored, and they are there for you, and it's working like an insurance in case you need them later once you really want to create a family or you're ready to start with family planning. But also reality shows that in fact, many, many women don't need those eggs that they once retrieved. So I think we can now conclude this session by saying that elective egg freezing summarizes in a nutshell that for many women, not having a partner is the main reason for seeking information and undertaking elective egg freezing, and that the elective egg freezing decision is complex and involves really weighing out all the pros and cons, which can be easily done in a counseling session with a fertility coach or a fertility counselor who is knowledgeable about this area. The knowledge gaps also include success rates and health risks. This is definitely something that we see. We see that doctors are doing a great job in providing information to these women about the procedure and about the medication and some of the risks that are involved. But whether or not the success rates are fully declared, we wouldn't know because we are not there at the IVF clinics when these discussions take place. All what I can say is that in our sessions, when we meet these women, we would then truly have a discussion again and a conversation again with them to find out what the drivers are for them to decide on elective egg freezing, or whether they actually need any additional information to just empower them with everything they should know before they make their decision whether or not to start with such a procedure. It remains still a little bit difficult to get reliable and balanced online information. That's a fact. And decision can be delayed. And this is what I really want for you to take away from this episode today, that no matter what you're being told, but you are ultimately the one that can decide when and how and with whom you want to do this procedure. And then just keep in mind, if you are one of those women that want to proceed and do elective egg freezing and get excited about it, which is great, I also want for you to just keep in mind, in case you don't have a session with a counselor, think about what would you then ultimately want to do with your surplus eggs in case you get pregnant naturally one day, which we all truly hope that everything is seamless and easy and smooth as always. But if there is anything that needs a decision-making process, it can sometimes become complex. We have seen such situations. We have conducted these conversations with women where it's also about ethics, moral. It's about the emotional factors behind it. We will talk more about mental mindset and emotional state of being for getting into the right set when you decide to go for elective egg freezing in the next episode. So stay tuned and hang on here, and we shall see you next week again. Thank you for being here and spreading the word as always. And have a wonderful week and take great care of yourself.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fertility Counselor podcast. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. If you need support or have any questions, reach out to us via email at inquiries@counselingconnects.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Fertility Connects. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to learn more about us and the services we offer, head to www.fertilityconnects.com. And if you're looking for support beyond fertility, visit www.counselingconnects.com. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.